There's jalapeno juice on my finger.
You guys want to take a minute?
Sometimes I just can't function as a human. Yeah.
So,
What's up, Stir Sticks? It's the Cauldron Boys. I'm Mike Javelle.
What's up? I'm Noble Truth. Hey, I'm walking here.
I'm Gruesome Bubbles.
All right, so today we got a very special guest. It's our boy Blue.
Hello there.
You my boy, Blue?
Yes, sir.
Blue, tell us something about yourself and tell us about your Magic history, please.
All right. So, a little something about myself. I love to write. I have a work in progress that I've been working on that I eventually hope to get to publish sooner or later. My goal is within like 5 years I want to get that published, and I want to start a cool series, fantasy series, something along the lines of Percy Jackson, but a little bit more mature, you know, things
Cooler.
like that. I love, yeah, exactly. Just writing. I love creating things. I love making storylines. I love D&D and everything like that. As far as my Magic history is concerned, I started in 2017. My first set was Hour of Devastation. I was like 2 sets off of like probably the perfect set to start in, which would have been Kaladesh, I think. But I started an Hour of Devastation. I remember it very distinctly. I had a local game shop that would do drafts for like $10 on Tuesdays. You got to keep all the cards, of course, so every Tuesday I'd hop up there, and my collection just turned into nothing but Hour of Devastation and Almond Cut drafts.
That's how I got my foil Anointed Procession from drafting
Exactly.
that set.
Yeah. And I remember very distinctly the first game I ever won that wasn't against my brother who taught me to play before I joined that play group. The first game I won was in one of those drafts where I pulled, not Adorn Pouncer, Pride Sovereign. Pride Sovereign, the 3-mana 2/2
Other
draft
cats.
bomb. Yeah, I was doing cat things. And then from then I started building cat decks. And I was in high school. I didn't have like any money. I didn't have a job. So whatever I could get my hands on was kind of what I was doing. It'd be Christmas presents, whatever. And then from then on, it just spiraled. As soon as I got a job, I wasn't afraid to spend $20 on a card. And here, next thing you know, here we are with.
And now you're hooked for life.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome.
Like I've got.
That's awesome.
It's
I've
just
got
like
big
the
old
tobacco
collection.
industry. They get you when you're young, and then you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's that cardboard crack, you know?
It is cardboard.
Y'all remember the ante? That shit was...
Oh.
I played when there was ante.
So
7th
did I.
grade, we used to do that.
Closest I came to playing with an ante was like a $5 money match because I was so annoyed with this one guy at a Friday Night Magic. I was like, "Fuck you, I'm better. Run the money match, $5. Run it." And then I just got whomped. It was a blow. I just got destroyed. I was like, okay,
That sounds about
fair
right.
enough. Yep.
Good times.
That's why you don't know how priority works.
I still don't know. So,
No one really does.
all right. So, let's take a second. Is there anybody you'd like to plug? Plug yourself, any of your channels, chats, people, places, and things? Go ahead.
So I've been really bad about it lately, but I am looking to either kick back up or start posting videos on YouTube, Twitch. My channels will be linked in the description down below. But the big one I want to plug is my boy Ra, who lives out in Switzerland. He does a lot of cool altars. He'll do auctions on his Instagram page and whatnot, and it'll lead to.
You have any
great
handy?
things. He does commissions. I do have some handy. Actually, the one that we're probably going to talk about today is one of my favorites, this Thalia and the Gitrog, where he was.
Look at
It was a
that.
commissioned altar where I got him to draw it, and you can notice that Thalia's hand is coming out of the. Yeah.
So hotness.
So his commissions are open. He runs a very fair price. He'll typically do the price of the card on TCG lowest, plus depending on how much you want to alter the card by. If you want to just like extend the art, typically it's like extra $10 to the card's price and whatnot, and then shipping and handling, of course. But he is an awesome guy. I've been ordering cards from him since I want to say 2018, 2019, and he's been so helpful with all of that, and he's been just super friendly with it. Customer service is astounding. Love the man.
That sounds like I need an altar to Nicholas.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Everyone's got their pet commander for sure.
As I'm sure some people who might have watched gameplay footage in the past have noticed, I've got altered cards in every deck of mine. It's only been the CD.
I've got it. I'll have to pull it out sometime, but I have that OG Alliance's Force of Will that's altered. I've had it for over 10 years, and it looks just like the proxies, the extended arts, and it blows my mind every time I look at it because that's it's some fine art right there.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to pull that out.
Speaking of proxies, I want to plug our boy Gruesome Bubbles right now. He handles all of our proxy needs. He's a really good guy. You can always find him in the Iron Board. If you need proxies, don't be afraid to come hit our boy Greg.
Yeah,
he gives
come on
you
over to
detail.
Iron Board and find Greg. He's gonna take care of you.
Just send me a direct message and we'll discuss everything going on from there.
All of the art done for the proxies is done by the Bubbles himself, person, right?
There
He's got
are
a
custom
large
arts,
collection,
but there are some that they're just regular proxy arts of the regular cards.
Okay.
But I do also do custom.
But a lot
arts.
of them.
I think Greg, what do we have? About 40 custom arts you've done for
all the
some
OGs,
of the proxy stuff?
the fetches, the shocks, the fast mana, including Ancient Tomb.
We do offer proxy packs too for fast lands, mana, starter packs, fast mana, shock lands. Come to Ironborn Gaming and start up a chat. Let us know.
Hey, I myself just ordered like 500 something proxies from him, and the packaging for shipping was beautiful. I mean, you could tell they were really protected.
Right. As a matter of fact, I got a Kinnan deck sitting here on hand. Look, it comes nice, thick, stacked, delivered right up, shipped, ready to go.
Oh, that's pretty.
Haven't needed much paper for paper magic in a while, but so let's talk about what we're doing here today. Today we are doing a little bit different than the build a deck from the ground up. We're taking an established commander, specifically Blue's favorite, and a really nasty one.
Oh my god!
Really, Thalia and Gitrog Monster.
I really hate it.
I have ruined some people's days with this.
Here's the thing, Thalia and Gitrog, when Blue plays, it's like he represents to me what would be the ultimate amount of stacks that you would find in a pod in cEDH. Like it's the perfect stacks deck combo of just what you could expect to go against. So it really puts your deck and your deck building to the test every time you play.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate stacks, and when I sit across from Blue, it usually ends up me being like, all right, focus Blue so I can play the game.
Get out of here.
Yeah. I do the same, and sometimes I kill the wrong stacks piece thinking that it was affecting me, but in reality it was only affecting my opponents, sometimes including Blue.
So that's perfect, though. That's perfect because Thalia is a stacks and hate bears deck. So how does she win exactly? A couple different ways.
Yeah, a couple different ways. It's been a little bit since I've had a win in this group. The last win I had, I can remember. It came down to it really was a stacks out the board, but I got to still do what I wanted to do. It came down to like turn 15 or something in a cEDH pod, which already means that I'm doing my job well as a stacks player. What happened was it came down to I was making Bitter Blossom tokens. I was drawing a lot of cards from Esper Sentinel. And I was able to stick in Elish Norn, which wiped almost the entire board. Everyone else was kind of tapped out, and I dropped a Winter Orb, which meant that they couldn't untap their stuff, and they just couldn't find their way to handle the board at all. And so I had card advantage. I hadn't beaten the resources because I had mana dorks on the field that were pumped big because of Elish Norn. And it was just a combat beatdown where I just slapped him.
That is the war of attrition.
20. Yeah, it was the war of attrition win. It does still, depending on how you want to build the deck, my deck does still run a couple of combos or one combo that you can find pretty consistently if you need to.
So we know starting off the bat that we are stacks, hate bears. We're going to win through attrition and out tempoing our opponents, which they can't do things, and we limit them.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's combos. Let's talk about what are you running in the deck right now.
So right now the combo that I'm really running is the main one I'm going for is Walking Ballista and Mikaeus the Unhallowed, because I just love that pairing, especially with Defense of the Heart. If I can get a Defense of the Heart to pop, and both cards are in the deck, that's just a win on the spot. There are a couple ways to tutor for him, because of course you're in black, you're in green, you're able to tutor for creatures, tutor for any card you want a lot of the time, and so you're able to assemble that combo pretty quickly. But it's also a quick way to just suddenly cheat it out and no one was expecting it, because everyone would originally think, oh, you're playing Abzan Hate Bears. If this Defense of the Heart goes off, you're going to grab Collector Oof and Dranith Magistrate, something like that. But no, sometimes you just win the game on the spot. Originally, when I had built the deck, I was running a Devoted Druid combo into Torment of Hailfire, but it proved to be really difficult to get all three pieces in hand or on the field at any given moment.
And that is like a high tier casual combo. Yeah, you don't see it a lot in cEDH. And I love Torment of Hailfire. It's probably one of my favorite cards.
Oh yeah, and as I'm sure I'll point out later, is you don't need infinite mana with Torment of Hailfire.
Nah.
You do not need infinite mana.
You just need
you do it 4 times, and it's just absolutely disgusting. Like, it's
X is equal to 4, and suddenly it's just like, at worst, you did 12 to each opponent. Like, that's the
very worst. Yeah.
Yeah. For 6 mana,
36 damage. That's great.
Yeah. It's pretty good for 6
Yeah,
mana.
When you
6
break it
mana,
down,
36.
6 mana,
Yeah.
36 round the table, that is pretty heavy.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the big ones that
The
won me
problem
that
with
game. I mentioned
format
the Elder Schnorn.
is that it's just one of those cards you just don't want to see in your opening hand. So that's the downside of it. As great as the card is, that's why we don't see it. So what are some other combos that we can run in here?
You can definitely run some ad nauseum things. You can run ad nauseum to fast mana for some fun combos. Abzan mostly has like
your
Creature-based
chain
combos.
your chain wither
Yeah.
wound, but that's not good either. So
it's not really the best in this deck because you're not really looking to run too many instants and sorceries. But cards
well,
like
it does make you discard, and you do get stuff back from your graveyard is kind of a side piece. So maybe it's not the worst here, but I do think a combo that requires you to empty your hand is not inherently great.
So as far as combos goes, I've got one here that I'd really, really, really like to talk about. Blue, I did some research, bro, and I know we sat down earlier in the year before with the Cauldron Boys even a thing, right? I gave it my shot, and I was bad at it, but I sat down and did some research for you, and I think I got some combos you're really gonna like. All right, so starting off Entomb and Reanimate, right? So we can do this as soon as turn 1. There's a couple of targets for the Entomb and Reanimate. First one I want to talk about is the Archon of Cruelty. Entomb the Archon of Cruelty and Reanimate it.
Yeah.
Turn 1.
Let's pull this up just to look at it.
That is something just absolutely disgusting.
It's a very backbreaking thing. And I would be 100% in on it. I'll play the devil's advocate here. Cards like Solitude, cards like March of the Unworldly Light. There's other free ones, I'm sure. No, Snuff Out doesn't work here. But like free removal spells that can happen as early as turn 1 or turn 0. Swords Plowshares with Gemstone Caverns. You're using 3 cards. You're using 2 cards to get a 3rd card. By that point, you're already down in resources, down to, say, if you're on a mull to 6, you're down to like 4 cards right out the gate. Actually, down to 2 cards right out the gate.
I think Archon of Cruelty is neat, but wouldn't we rather just go for like Raz? Be able to tutor out anything? Isn't that like isn't that the typical Entomb target?
Being able to tutor pretty much as you want at the beginning would be absolutely game winning.
And it's mana. It doesn't cost any mana. I mean, you gotta chuck a creature, but basically Diabolic Intent and 2 life. It's pretty okay.
It's not bad.
If we're talking Entomb targets,
it's a good idea. And I like the idea of pooping out giant things. Believe me, I am a green player.
You do have Elish Norn too, so I mean, like,
Elish Norn would probably be the better thing to poop out because immediately that means that no one can play Mana Dorks. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. Raz is pretty solid.
There was another target that I wanted to bring up to you. This one, it's another Archon. It's an Archon of Valor's Reach.
Oh yeah, this is like a little hot tactic.
Whenever it enters, you choose a card type. Artifact, enchantment, instant, sorcery, or planeswalker.
Oh yeah.
Players can't play those spells.
Yeah.
So
I'm in on.
Entomb that. Reanimate it. You name
turn 1 fast mana rocks.
Exactly. Name artifacts.
No artifacts.
No more artifacts. We do this land for land. Can you outbuck a land?
I love that. Although the thing is I'm never gonna shoot any of these ideas down, and I'm sure I actually might have Archon of Valor's Reach on like my buy list to put in the deck to just try and run it and see. One of the things I really wanted, there aren't too many hate bears or like 2 mana drops that can be combo pieces. But one of the big ones I'm thinking about running is Leonin Relic Warder, Animate Dead, and a Blood Artist or Corpse Knight, something like that.
Because he's much like that's the same combo and much like World Gorger, really.
Yeah, it's very similar to World Gorger Dragon. It keeps the mana cost low. Not to mention that in and of itself could be considered something of a hate bear because it's a 2 mana 2/2 that handles a problem at the worst. At the best, it's the game-winning combo piece.
You could also play it and stop something like you're only on an Arbiter. So like you could do a tutor, play this, then play this, do a tutor, sack your guy, get your enemy dead. This comes back into play. Everybody else is still tutored out, and now you're working your combo.
I'm gonna put you all on Leon and Relic Order real fast. If you are playing,
I run in the Amalia. Yeah, no, it's hotness.
I'm put you on it real fast.
Feldar.
And this is not Greg's favorite words, but it gets rid of the One Ring.
It gets rid of the
That
One
is
Ring.
Huge.
Not my One Ring.
Get rid of the One Ring.
Get rid of it.
And Ristic and Mystic.
And Ristic.
Mystic's not the one.
Now you're hurting me. Now you're hurting me.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a hot card.
It's big because it exiles. I love that it exiles things. It's sure not a permanent exile.
I am keeping some cards in the list as we're going through, whether we're hot on them or not. It was just Archon, and I added that. So you're gonna want an Animate Dead.
Yeah, probably.
And you want Dance.
Yeah, I like Dance. I always whenever.
Or Necromancy. Yeah.
I prefer Dance of the Dead. Dance of the Dead, I just enjoy more.
They're cheap, and then for you also, it's any card or any creature in any graveyard. So you can get somebody else's Dockside. Who knows what you can do?
Exactly.
You can get somebody else's World Gorger.
I've done it before. It's great.
Third trigger requires that you can sack a creature or land. Now, if you've got this, return recursion, you have a sack outlet in your commander. You do attack with them all the time.
I do, yeah.
I feel like that's a good sub theme for you to work with. I wouldn't build too much more towards it, but to have the Entomb, Reanimate, Animate Deads, and a couple of those targets on hand, I think you're going to find a little bit more consistency.
Here's the thing I've kind of run into with Thalia and the Gitrog. It's one of those commanders that it's just a wall of text. There is so much text on this stupid card. But
really, for 4 mana, 4/4 with 4 different abilities,
all of which are upside. That's insane. But here's the thing: is it's really hard to build a deck that has a commander like this, where you're able to play on each of its abilities. Aside from First Strike, Death Touch, that's just can't really play around.
Is there anything better besides like indestructibility? Like First Strike, Death Touch. Like, come on, awesome. It's like, yeah, sure. I put the Rog in front of it. Okay, it's dead.
Yeah, you could build it in a lot of different ways. You could build the lands package where you're doing an additional land on each of your turns. I more or less have my deck built around specifically the creatures non-basic lands enter tapped. Like, I'm going hard on the Hate Bear route, and that's why I've been able to squeak some games when currently I don't actually own fast mana, and I've been able to squeak games out from it. Trying to play extra lands, well, you can only really do so much extra lands when you're also trying to do sack outlet, when you're also trying to do combat matters, when you're also trying to do Stax matters. It's really hard to get all of them, so you have to try and find a perfect balance.
The right density. You gotta have the right density.
I found it's generally best with a commander like this to try and hit 2 out of the 3. I'm personally not really playing too much into the lands package. I'm definitely playing a lot into the Hate Bears aspect, and I'm playing quite a bit into swinging, because swinging is fun, and that draw matters a lot.
It's 2024. Like, I think aggro is starting to do a thing, especially with so much Adnaz and Citadel, and like pressuring life totals is definitely important.
Yeah, and Adnaz is so huge.
It's Adnaz and the One Ring is the main things. If you know they have an Adnaz or the One Ring, you just want to be punching them because that's their resource. Take it down.
Yeah, one of the funniest parts of a game that I played, but one of the funnier times was I was playing in one of the league games. I was minding my own business. I played like Esper Sentinel and then Sylvan Library, so I was starting my card draw things. I wasn't really affecting anyone's board. It's like turn 2 or 3 or something. And someone had a Gilded Drake, they swapped and gave to someone else. And they just started hitting me with the Gilded Drake, and I was like, why are you doing that? And he goes, you're running black, you're only black player at the table. I gotta hit you for the sake of Adnaz. I'm like, I'm not running it in my deck. But the fear of Adnaz is so huge that you have to put something on it.
And players are trained.
Yeah, exactly.
To deal with that.
It's so huge.
You know, I can't tell you how many times where it's just like I'm holding my hand and I'm looking and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And I top deck Adnaz and I'm just like, we got freaking gas. Let's go.
Or
you just win off an Adnaz.
My case, you get that top deck Adnaz, but you're at 8 life.
Or in my case, you Adnaz and only get your expensive ass cards and lands and can't do anything from there.
Greg, your history is
I'm great at the shitty Adnazes.
You're great at casting Adnaz.
Yeah,
that's
I cast
for sure.
a lot. Is it good? Hardly ever.
If you look at it this way, if you wanted to consider it like this, think one of the better ratios of card draw to mana value. One of the better ones is 4 for 2 or 5 for 3, you know? If you're doing Adnaz and you're getting 3 cards, you're kind of on par with what you want. And then if you're hitting lands, you're just getting more cards. Adnaz is just busted.
That's true.
I didn't say the card was bad. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
When
Pay
you cast
life.
Adnaz, you kind of want to continue to storm off. I
still say even a bad Adnaz is one of the best Adnazes.
Well, if you can't do anything with it and win, then it's kind of like, at least I got a full grip of what I want. So
Exactly, yeah.
But then people know for that whole round, yeah, that's the guy.
Kill him.
After, you know what's the worst is like trying to defend yourself after a bad Adnaz. Like you go to 6, right? And you're just like, okay, well I can't win from here, so how do I not die?
Mm-hmm. No, now it's not die. I'm gonna keep my Rollick. I'll keep my Fierce Guardianship. I'm gonna keep my Deflecting Swat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is where Thalia and the Gitrog comes in hard. Someone just Adnaz and they're down to like 4.
And they're not basic, yeah.
Punchies?
Yeah, punchies. Punchies are real.
Punchies are real.
They are.
So let's stay back on track here. We have covered the reanimate lines a little bit. We've added an extra leg to this build already by adding Archon as a tutorable piece. That really, dude, if you did an Entomb reanimate turn one and drop that, said artifact, it's over. Nobody's going to be able to do shit. So, and that's not going to hurt you that much. So there's like literally a good way to like shut a game down. That's just going to get people to want to get rid of it and draw what they have out of them.
At worst, I'm going to soak up some removal.
Now, do you have any aristocrat style in this list? I don't see any.
Right now, no. I'd want to add Corpse Knight, and I'd want to add either Zulaport Cutthroat or Blood Artist. They don't sound very much like Stax pieces or anything like that, but it's surprising just how much a Zulaport Cutthroat can make a difference, because someone's trying to storm off with Dargo. They're sacrificing stuff all the time. They need to start figuring this stuff out. Like, they need to actually answer this first before they can do the storm stuff.
The Blood Artist, really.
Blood Artist specifically, yeah.
There's another thing. You said you're not really running any aristocrat stuff. You're running Thalia. So there's your sack outlet, right? But you're also running card Bitter Blossom. So, you attack with Thalia, you sack the token of Bitter Blossom. You draw a card. Now, I want to pitch something to you again. Right? So you're running Hate Bears, you're running stuff that's going to also set you back as well. So
there have been times where it's come to life, yeah.
Skull Clamp, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's look. How many creatures can that actually clamp right away?
Well, not just that. Even the ones that can't be clamped.
For whatever you want, you can sack it that turn.
So if you sack it off of the Thalia, you draw off the Thalia, it died, you draw 2 cards off the Skull Clamp. You draw 3 cards in a turn, you're doing Rhystic Study stuff now.
I Skull Clamp's actually hotness here.
Yeah.
Just because of the sack outlet freebie from Thalia, and you're pretty much always have Thalia out.
I will say, though, Thalia gets a lot of hate. Like, a lot of hate.
Oh, I'm not letting it resolve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just let Thalia resolve. It's Thalia hits the field because no one else has anything.
And half
then
the
she
time,
dies.
It's already stacked.
Yeah.
You've already stacked out people's chances to deal with her, so
yeah,
she just sticks.
But why draw 1 card when you can draw 2? Why draw 2 when you can draw 3?
Yeah, turn your 1 card into 3.
Yeah, and so like if you
token into 3.
The crazy thing about it, right, is so like if you have Collector Oof on field and you no longer need it, but you're holding like your Mana Crypt in hand because it does you no good. Clamp the Collector Oof.
Well,
right?
you can't because it's an activated ability.
You can't equip.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
but you can still, whenever you attack with Thalia, you can still sack the Oof and then continue from there.
Oof, maybe not the best option. But
Oof, maybe not the best.
Oof's not clampable. It just simply is impossible to clamp it. Unless you turn it into anything but the Oof.
If somebody played a dress down, you're good.
Weefy.
Yeah, if someone plays dress down. Yeah.
Dress down.
But then I don't get to do the attack trigger.
That's true.
What Magic is hard.
Leon and Arbiter. We could clamp the Leon. That way if you wanted to tutor, you don't have to pay that too. It's done its job.
That's a good thing too.
Leon and Arbiter might be one of my favorite of the hate bears. Like the actual bears, the 2-mana 2/2s for 2 that just freaking annoy people. Leon and Arbiter is among my top.
Let's keep looking down now. What else are we on right now?
Well, we're definitely on the 3-ball.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a game changer and a half.
I hate this card so much.
Everyone
one of the most frustrating cards that you play.
The times I've lost off the back of a Trinisphere is just ungodly. Like I've even Praetor's Grasp your Trinisphere, so you couldn't play it. I was just like, Praetor's Grasp, let me go get that Trinisphere. All right, cool. Now I can play the game.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about it hitting the field ever. Oh,
I'm going to remove it forever.
It's almost a
makes me want to cry when I see it on the other side of the table.
It's a crime.
Yeah. I was playing a game the other day in one of the leagues, and I had in my hand 3-ball or Tangle Wire, neither of which had a chance of resolving. But if it did, I was winning that game. No question. I chose to try and cast Tangle Wire because I figured if there was one that I wanted countered, I want Tangle Wire to get countered so I can play Transfer the next turn. I had my commander on the field and I had a Bloom Tender, so I was able to tap for 3 mana, 4 mana, given whatever I was able to untap. And so I was just going to be rocketed ahead. With Sylvan Library, I was drawing cards. I was winning that game. But unfortunately, someone just had to have a counterspell.
And I do like Sylvan Library, but that's 3 cards a turn.
We played the game the other day, and I had Sylvan Library on turn 2. I did every single bit of damage to myself that game, and I was able to kill 2 people and almost win the game. Greg was able to slip it
with the Kadena deck that we did the last podcast on.
I was almost able to win because I was off the back of Sylvan Library. I paid 8 life, I think, 3 times.
Yeah,
and also I had Ancient Tomb and Bitter Blossom. I was using my life as a resource like nobody's business.
That's exactly how you got to be in this game.
I'm won because of Deathrite and your graveyard was full.
Yeah, I played a little too close to the sun.
But was that Kadena?
Yeah, it was Kadena.
It was Kadena, Mothman, I think Thrasios Vile Smasher.
Yeah, he had Naws, mac and cheese had Naws, and whiffed. Yep. And then
no, he did not whiff on the ad Naws. He had it.
Great, right. I hit him. I hit him with the first counter, but then he was still going, and then
he'd refused to pay for my Rhystic, so I drew the Mindbreak Trap, thus stopping him.
And he was like, "Oh, okay, I think I'm just dead here." And we're like, "Good game."
Well, he wasn't dead, but he did.
He used his Pact negation on you, and he had plenty of mana to pay for it. But when it got to blue, Oof hit the field, and he was down to 3 mana. Dude was silent until his turn. Okay, so I untap, and I guess I just die because
he packed me, and that was it. Yep.
That's gross.
It was mean.
Gotta be one of my top 10 favorite kills in Magic.
That was good. That was good because he did add Naws. Couldn't pull it off that turn. Right. And then, Greg,
you to win the next turn.
Right. And you top decked the Mindbreak Trap, and it was like, oh, man. He really had each one of us out for him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we each took a shot at him.
Pay for the Rhystic. You gotta pay for the Rhystic.
I don't pay taxes.
That's how I drew it. That was the final card I drew.
We pay the most taxes, bro.
We say, you got to pay your taxes, and I work for the government in some aspects, and I pay my taxes. But one tax that never gets paid is the Smothering Tithe.
The Mystic.
And the Fish Stick Remora. Because it's 4 mana. That's insane.
Or you just ain't paying
that. Will you pay the 4? No!
Are you going to pay the 2? Are you going to pay the 2? I'll make a treasure. I'll make another treasure. It's fine.
Let's move forward a little bit. Let's do a deck breakdown. Let's move into this next section. Right now, we're going to review how many Stax pieces, how many interactions, how many utility, how our breakdown is of that. So here we are looking at consistency. I actually like this cEDH, commanderassault.com. I like this. They do a good job of is breaking stuff down. So like here we go. We're looking at consistency factors right now. We have just a few essential draw. There's not a lot. However, there's a decent amount of tutors in there.
Yeah, okay, this is going to be a hot take. This is probably one of 1 decks. 1 of 1 in all of cEDH as far as I'm concerned. I don't think Mana Crypt should be in this deck.
That is a hot take.
It's a hot take.
So,
this deck is one of the most pip-heavy decks you could possibly find.
If you run Soul Ring, we gotta run Mana Crypt. You can't not. It's too free. It's too free.
I'm almost with you. Don't get me wrong. Mana Crypt is a great idea because you're able to cheat in Thalia Heretic Athar, Aven Mind Sensor, Archon of Amaria, anything with, I don't know if anyone pays attention to North 100, but the great Benjamin Wheeler and Serge Yeager will refer to as Ancient Tomb mana. It's a big deal. But the problem is that...
I'd probably cut Mox Amber for sure.
Yeah, probably Mox Amber.
Man, I don't agree with cutting Mana Crypt. I'm sorry. I can't even follow it.
If it was between Mox Amber and Mana Crypt, you gotta take Crypt. It's just turned on. It's turned on right away. There's no bullshit. 0 drop, 2 free mana. It's the best ritual.
If you drop a land, drop a Mana Crypt, drop a Soul Ring, that's 5 mana turn 1. That is insane. That rockets you.
Trust me, I'm not saying Mana Crypt isn't a fantastic card. It's stupid and busted. I'm saying it's really hard to play the Hate Bears route on the account of, think about the Hate Bears that everyone hates to run up against. Gaddock T, can't play that off Mana Crypt no matter what you do. Grand Abolisher, can't play it off Mana Crypt. Mikaeus, which happens later, can't really play off Mana Crypt. Freaking
Mikaeus
Dalthy.
It's 3 colorless along with 3 black, so it works.
My bad.
Yeah.
But Gaddock T, Grand Abolisher, Lotho, Collector Oof, you can, but it's like you're still wasting kind of mana. But Dalthy's a big one that you just can't play.
Op agent.
You can drop an op.
Opposition agents.
You can drop Ramming Up. You can drop Thalia. You can drop Yasharn.
Yeah.
You could drop.
But then also look at we're talking that's all the instants and sorceries. But think about the enchantments on.
Yeah,
here.
and Heliod obviously is in for the ballista line, so we know
Yeah.
that it's gonna stay.
But like deafening silence isn't that great with it. Don't get me wrong, dropping a smothering tithe pretty early is good. Dropping a Trinity, it's a good card and it can work very well. I just think that it's more often than not that you're going to run into a problem where it's like, I need colored mana, and Mana Crypt isn't giving me that. It's going to happen so much more often than you think. I've run into it a plethora of times where I'm like, I have this Ancient Tomb. I'm happy. I get to poop out a 3-drop on turn 2. This is awesome. Or a 4-drop on turn 2, depending on how. Like,
for all that, if you're worried about it, I still think that you need a Spirit Guide.
Yeah, Elvish Spirit Guide was in the deck at one point. I took it out because I think I tried to like power down to play against some people at like a.
So what do you think
level.
about the Lotus Petal?
I think Lotus Petal's fine. I will admit, because Collector Oof is such a big part of the deck, because it's just such a backbreaking piece of the game, putting artifacts makes the deck feel like it's kind of running into a non-bow territory.
Like it's fighting itself.
Yeah, and then a lot of the artifacts I want to play are mostly going to be static effects, like Thorn of the Amethyst, Crucible of Worlds, things like that.
Diamond is good. I like Diamond. I like
Mox Diamond's great.
Signet. I mean, I would put Mana Crypt over Arcane Signet any day. That's me. I know it gives you a colored, but you got a net positive. Let's go keep moving around a little bit now that we're still checking it out. Decent amount of ramp in there. It does count your Tithe, your Lotho, your Deathrite Shaman, Pilgrim, Halfling, Elf. So you do your Rocket 1, 6, like about maybe 7 mana dorks. Not really going to count Lotho. 6 dorks.
You should count Lotho during each turn, unless you have the Stax piece making them only cast 1. You're almost definitely going to get 3 extra treasures for sure. It even counts yourself, so you will more than likely get the extra treasures. So I would count them as a mana dork.
If you play a turn 1 Lotho and just pass the turn, just collect.
There's a very good chance you're getting 3 treasures in that go round.
I played against a Lotho deck where it was Lotho as the commander.
So that sounds like fun.
Dude, he cranked out a Lotho. We fed the Lotho. He said, okay, cool, untap, draw, ad nauseum, turn 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
okay.
We did bad.
In my Tivit deck, I had a turn 1 Lotho and other mana rocks as well, but the cycle getting 3 extra treasures before my second turn, the end step, I was able to ad nos turn 1 due to having a Lotho.
Yeah, Lotho is a crazy card.
Just because. So it's an enabler. So Lotho's staying.
It's almost it's like a bad dockside, but you know what I'm saying? Like
that's a running joke with the aristocrats kind of side of life. It's like Goblin Bombardment is arguably the best sack outlet. Second, maybe only to Phyrexian Altar. You'll play cards like Blasting Station, or you'll play some other sack to ping, because a bad version of Goblin Bombardment is still a good version of Goblin Bombardment that can throw math all out the window.
That's
so
true.
A bad version of Dockside Extortionist is still, it's a version of Dockside Extortionist, and that's going to be a problem.
Thalia is kind of ramping away, I guess.
Extra land drops. I do mean to put a copy of Exploration in the deck.
This is a card choice I was on before. I don't know, Crop Rotation. It seems really good. Really good. You just get whatever you want.
What's our targets?
So in a deck like this, arguably you'd probably lean more towards Crop Rotation into Ancient Tomb is a big one. Depending on how you build it, you could also make an argument for Urza's Saga. You can make an argument for Urborg, Yavimaya.
Gaia's Cradle.
Gaia's Cradle is a big one there.
Strip Mine could be another line if you have the ability to play your lands from the graveyard.
Yeah, because Life from the Loam, we don't have Cradle in here.
Strip Mine, Wasteland, and are you running?
Roundup Excavator, Crucible World, and Life from the Loam.
No Azusa.
Those 3.
No Azusa. Off of Thalia and the Excavator, you Strip Mine, take out a land, play it, take out a land, and eventually you just shoot off all their lands, you know? So now you're oofing their rocks, and you're shooting off their lands too.
Oh yeah. This is a resource denial kind of deck, and it does its job well.
I definitely think we had the Crop Rotation for those effects.
Crop Rotation, sick.
I definitely like crop rotation.
We're gonna put Gaia's Cradle in here too. Hold on, before we do that though, I wanted to discuss this because this was a point I had noticed too. 32 lands is a lot. I just added 2.
It is a lot. As far as cEDH is concerned, it's a lot.
30 was like the optimal number from what I've heard or just gathered for Thalia and Gitrog.
And a part of it is definitely confirmation bias. I will not lie. Confirmation bias is present with the building of this deck, at least in my original build. Because anytime I run less than 30 lands or 30 or less, I never make it to the 3rd land.
I'm telling you, 30's. I think 30's the number. I mean, you're getting a lot of gas here.
Yeah.
I also don't like cards that come in tapped.
Here's the thing with Thalia and the Gitrog and extra lands in general. If you're playing 2 lands in a turn, that's already great. If you're playing 2 lands in a turn and one of them is a fetch land, that means that you're taking lands out of your deck, which is good.
Deck thinning, yeah.
Deck thinning is deck winning, is the saying. But here's the thing: it's better to have multiple lands that you can fetch out. That's why I tend to run a little bit more, is so that I can fetch out more lands and so that I can get the maximum amount of value out of my extra land drop creatures and whatnot.
Well, between you got 3 basics, 3 duels. And 3 shock lands.
He has 5 basics. He has 2 plains and 2 swamps.
No, I took them out already. They're already down to 1.
I do notice that whenever you swing with Thalia, you tend to sack your lands more.
Yeah, than
which
creatures, for sure.
Which you're playing hate bears and you want those to stay on the. I completely understand why you're doing it, and you've got some synergies in there to get your lands back, and so you still get that trigger. But if we could add another card like Bitter Blossom to kind of not make you sack your lands, but now it's hey, I make a body, it's sackable off of Thalia when she attacks. I still get to attack. What do you think about Skrelv's Hive?
I had Skrelv's Hive in the deck for a while.
If we're going with things like that, you could also do Dreadhorde Invasion. It makes an amassed token.
Dreadhorde Invasion is probably the best
and
for that.
Dreadhorde Invasion would all be good.
Yeah.
We could cut your lands down, and then you have your sack outlets or your sack pieces.
And I'm never going to shoot down an idea. I'm going to say I've play tested with each one, and I found a decent balance that I like. I'm never going to just say I'm not going to play that. I'll test it. I have a copy of Skrelv's Hive. I don't have a copy of Dreadhorde Invasion on me right now. I can get that pretty easily.
Played with Dreadhorde Invasion.
When you have your collection on 2 sides of the U.S.
Literal, actual opposite sides of the freaking country.
Yeah.
So I've played with Dreadhorde Invasion before. It's underwhelming, and so is Skrelv's Hive.
I wasn't talking about this second effect. I'm saying having all 3: Skrelv's Hive, Dreadhorde, and Bitter Blossom to have those tokens to sack to Thalia when you attack. You don't have to necessarily play all 3 at the same time. You just have those 3 options as redundancies.
That way you sack your creature, you sack that token instead of sacking a land. Giving us the opportunity to drop our lands down and still be, that opens up space for interaction. It opens up space for rituals. It opens up space for, everything. I mean, Culling Ritual now is online because now you have a 1/1.
And I do not see a Culling Ritual in here.
A lot of his stuff is under 3 though, so it would be a board wipe to him more than anyone else.
Sadly true.
That's one that I'm questionable on, but it's still a really good board wipe.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 forms of Stax. And I don't even see Trinisphere in there, so it's obviously not counting.
17 whenever I
it's
went
taxes.
through and counted.
Yeah, it's because there's 4 more in taxes.
Yeah.
They also have a taxes section.
They separated it. That's funny.
That is
so that's 6. So you got Stax and taxes. So
wait,
it
under
also
taxes,
turns on.
Under taxes, they have Gaddock Teague?
Yeah,
That's not right at all.
It's kind of Stax, isn't it?
It is Stax. You can't play 4 or greater things. That shuts off a lot.
Gaddock Teague
shuts off ad noise.
Shuts off all my counter spells that are free-ish. All the ones that I usually have in hand.
I mean, there's no Dark Ritual. I would suggest that first if we're going to do anything.
With
Ritual
the graveyard stuff we have, Dark and Cabal would be good rituals to add, because you're more than likely going to hit the threshold to get the 5 off Cabal.
Yeah. Especially if it's a game that Thalia and the Gitrog is winning, if it's going through the Hate Bears route, yes, you are hitting threshold before you win. There's no question there. Having the Gitrog Frog in there as like a value piece is not something to be underestimated.
Well, we're gonna have to talk about mana costs and the density of the high cost cards.
Quite a few of your big Staxy pieces are 4 or greater mana.
So you're rocking 7 cards. Like even I guess at 1.53 with lands is really not that bad right now.
No.
You're kind of where I think that cEDH needs to be on the high end. Like, you know, Adnos should be maybe 1.3, 1.4. 1.5 is doable. So I
mean, my Obnix is 1.52. I'm still on ad nauseum, but it's not like I'm tutoring for ad nauseum right then and there. You know.
See, the problem with this deck is if you add noise, you're not going to have enough things to do.
Yeah, and honestly, as much as we can talk up Adnaz, I'm plenty fine playing a deck without Adnaz. I have no trouble with that. Even if I'm in black and it's like the color to do it, and I'm running a low mana cost, whatever. Adnaz, just not having it in the deck or being able to tell your opponents, hey, I don't have Adnaz. You don't need to worry about that. Should help you out.
So you could
throw in Peer, and then it does kind of the same thing, and you don't have to quite worry as much.
Peer's pretty good. You like that?
This is pretty good. I do like it. I don't know how I feel too much about it in this deck because the amount of times I've struggled to hit 3 black mana is not 0.
That is a problem. It usually is.
It's definitely, yeah.
And like a 3-color deck.
It's a very pip-heavy deck, and in a 3-color deck especially, it's really difficult.
Well, think about it. Peer's going to get you half your library. It's just you're going to be set up after that. But really, all you're doing is setting yourself up to play longer.
If you can Peer and then ritual... To ritual,
like you should.
That is disgusting, and I'm here for it. You know, first and foremost, I see it. Plus, you're running you're running Orcish Bowmasters, right?
Yeah.
If you put Peer in there, and then you're like, I'm going to peer into the abyss, choosing you, and you die now, and you die now.
You definitely take 2 people out that way.
Yeah.
That would be funny if you had like deafening silence and rule of law. So here's half your library.
Player who's playing.
Well, obviously you just want to kill the person that you made do it. So it's like, Greg, draw half your library. By the way, the first 40 damage go to you.
Take 18 now, please.
Yeah, take 18 to the next. That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
All right, maybe I like Peer.
Yeah, Peer into the Abyss is pretty funny.
I've been talked into it. I've been conned in.
So, I'm here for it, baby.
I'm here for it.
You're welcome.
So what about...
I didn't do much talking.
That's right. There's one card that I do want to put in this deck solely because I'm running Elish Norn and because Elish Norn is such a great win con. The one that turns everyone else's lands into 1/1s. I don't remember the name of it.
Corpus Bell.
Yeah.
Turns. So you're already running. Here's the thing, right? So you're already running 2 out of 3 cards. You need Urborg, you need Cormus Bell, and you need Elish Norn. All right. So you play Urborg, turns everybody's stuff into swamp, including yours, right? Cormus Bell turns all swamps into 2/2 creatures.
1/1 creatures, I think. Yeah.
1/1. Yeah, you're right. 1/1. And then you drop the Elish Norn, and now you've done Armageddon.
Are we cEDHing? Though
that runs into a little bit more of a win more position.
It's super hard to do it. I have it in my Phyrexian Primus as one of the win cons in there, and I have never ever won with it.
Been able to get it.
Yeah, and I would say my Primus deck is probably a power level 8. You know.
Well, here's another Stax piece I hadn't seen in here though. What do you think about Aethersworn Canonist? One or the other?
I've been meaning to put Aethersworn or find a copy and put it in the deck. I play primarily paper, so typically if I can't find a copy or if I can't get a proxy in time, I'll just.
I freaking hate that card.
Earlier Aethersworn Canonist was played in one of my pods. And someone else played Aethersworn Canonist, and I went, yes, I am on board with this.
If we're going with
I put a deafening silence on the field.
If we're doing Aethersworm Canonist, you should also do the Phyrexian
Sensor?
Sensor, yeah. It does the same thing, but for Phyrexians.
That's fun. So I like it. We're gonna have quite a few cuts to make here. But
Yeah.
so let's talk about more Stax pieces because that's what we're here for. Okay, here's the one that my number one suggestion. What about Shio?
Oh, Children?
The whispering one?
No,
That's-
the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
The one that
So
ruins games.
so another thing that I'm here for, right, is we just added Peer. If we add Darkness Mommy too, that's
She's
we get
4
there.
mana. It's
get
really, really easy to get there. And it puts people on like you wanna add Noise. Go ahead. Oh, you wanna let me peer in the abyss you. Go ahead.
Go for it. Someone please cast Wheel of Fortune, I dare you.
And that's a big deal.
In our play group in particular, people aren't wheeling all that often, but semantics.
Greg be willing like crazy.
I like
Greg
to
be
turn
like,
one
all right,
wheel.
cool,
If
land.
I'm in
Greg's not
season
mana
1 or
crypt.
2, I will turn one wheel as if I can.
I know you will.
I'll be holding fire. Greg will be like land, mana crypt.
It's like, oh, what was that?
Tap
You mulligan to 5, getting the right hand? Okay.
Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel.
Hey, I'm just getting you back up to 7. I thought we should all start there.
And then I draw nothing but like lands and rituals. And I'm like, all right, I got all the gas and no fuel. You know.
Is there any other Stax pieces that you guys can think of? Because I think that was pretty much.
Manglehorn.
Manglehorn's pretty big. I like Manglehorn.
It's a destruction as well. You get
it is a destruction.
It's removal.
It's not a perfect 1-to-1, but I think Dauntless Dismantler has kind of done a good job of almost replacing, or has done a good job of filling in that slot.
I really did want to come back around and look at this card because this is a card that kind of snuck into the meta quietly. It quietly walked itself in, and it started.
I don't think it was that quiet at all.
Just it's not like a big hot heavenly card, but now once somebody's seen somebody else play it. Now they've added it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
so Dauntless Dismantler on turn 1, especially if you're the first person playing, that's big. And then on top of that, if people are going, all right, well, fine, I'll play, I guess, this tapped Mox Diamond, discarding this. Then later, the next turn comes around, everyone else has played out their stuff or whatever. You just pay a white man and blow up all of the mana crypts, all the petals, everything. You don't need to pay mana into it. Just blow up all 0-drop artifacts.
I was playing Kennen in the league. And someone dropped one on me. Oh, like it was like like I was having a slow start to Kennen because I wasn't like turn 1 Kennen, turn 2 Kennen activation. It was like turn 4 Kennen activation, and I was just trying to fight off everybody, and they were just like they caught me in the cracks, and they were just like, oh, 0-drop rocks gone, and I was like,
boom. Like I had 5.
What about the new artifacts and creatures enter tap? The Doorkeeper Thrall?
That's one out of
I do have one more.
Markov's at
Misadventures of
Markov Manor. Yeah, there we go.
It has flash?
Yeah.
It do have
flash.
Artifacts
Don't
and
cause
creatures
abilities.
under the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger.
That seems like a half.
That flavor
pretty
text,
good
no
snack.
help, answered questions with a mix of hissing and drool.
That's dope.
That's me after
I love that.
3-hour game with
With
Yours
blue,
truly.
yeah.
somebody help me. No help.
Yeah.
I like
Craziest
this
thing about this is like somebody drops that dockside and you flash that.
Oh, it's the Dockside Killer.
Who
It's
cares about the Dockside Killer?
It's the
Fish
Thassa's-
Killer. Yeah.
Thassa's Oracle.
Thassa Killer. I do run right now in my current build that I'm playing when I play y'all on online games. I do have a Torpor Orb in there, almost exclusively for for Thoracle combo. So that's fun. But yeah, I like this card more.
Yeah. It's funny. Oh, you're in a Dockside? No, I don't think so.
Eh.
You can
It's like-
side, but you're not getting the treasures.
Yeah.
You just
It's
have
like,
to make
sure.
sure you do it before Dockside resolves, because if it triggers on the stack, you can't do it.
Then dockside on the stack.
There you go.
Right.
I will
Right.
say
I'd be the
this
one
card-
to fuck up and do it once it hits. Trigger
That's
up
a good-
Dockside
that's-
on the stack, then
Oh,
play
your
it? No, it's
Dockside
too late.
landed? No responses? Boom.
Yeah.
cards like this,
Doorkeeper.
cards
Thanks.
like this are the reason I'm willing to run Ether Vial despite it not being great with other hate bears on the
And
field.
2-drop, and it's a flying body, too. That's not
Exactly. Oh, it has flying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
busted for 2 mana.
Yeah, busted.
Here's
I love-
another.
I love Stax pieces with Ether Vial because I don't know if people know this, but specifically with how Ether Vial works, you tap Ether Vial and activate it. people can't respond to what you decide to put on the field. They have to respond to the activation. And so through things like that, tap Ether Vial. I have a Thalia in my hand. Ether Vial's on 2. It's like in someone's upkeep. They need to decide right then and there, am I going to do anything? If the answer is no, bam, Thalia hits the field, and suddenly their whole turn is just thrown completely out of whack.
Vial is good for that. And then it's even better with like Seedborn Muse, but I don't think this is the deck for that.
Maybe it's a Seedborn Muse deck.
So
not enough
activated abilities.
Yeah.
I got
not
one more
effects and not enough activated abilities for it.
One more Stax piece that I'm hot on personally, and that's Boromir.
Boromir for sure. That was one I was waiting to talk about.
Okay, tell me about it, guys.
The Boromir making your opponents not be able to cast free mana stuff, and when sacrificing makes your Thalia or your other key Stax pieces indestructible. It's an amazing add protection. It's Stax and protection built into one card.
Let's not gloss over this fact. Ancient Tomb mana is pretty big.
Yeah. It does have the Ancient Tomb mana, yes.
I'm just a fan of that.
It literally kills, like you said, the free counter spells. It's over.
The free rocks, over.
Free rocks.
Color
Doesn't that kill the Dothy too?
You can't cast
the
Dothy card too, yeah.
No.
Yeah, you can't cast
it. It does shut off Dothy.
So that's the problem with Hate Bears. It's really hard with Hate Bears and Stacks to have a perfect deck where you only screw over your opponents and not yourself. If you want a Hate Bear deck that has the strongest Hate Bears, it'll be general. You know,
like
it's
Oof.
not. Yeah, Oof will hit every artifact on the field. Oof will hit every field. Yeah. So, but in a perfect world where we could run, let's say Thalia and the Gitrog, the killer identity is not a problem. Lavinia would find its way in the deck. Specifically, the 2-mana Lavinia that counters for free.
I'm a degenerate that built a knowledge pool, an open machine Lavinia, and that was me.
Exactly.
I did that, and then I had no friends after.
So the fact that we can't run Lavinia because it's blue means Boromir definitely needs to find its way into this deck.
Anybody else have any other stacks or suggestions?
Drana
and Limvala. Oh.
4-mana 3/4, flying vigilance. Take away everyone else's activated abilities. Get your own.
Get theirs, yeah.
So there you go. Mana dorks destroyed.
Yeah.
Now it looks like you can't
sacrifice. Selvala.
You suck it, so you can't send. You can't do Boromir. Kinnan, doesn't that kill Kinnan's ability?
It hurts Kinnan so bad.
It hurts a lot of the popular commanders.
The card I want to hit the most with it is Thrasios.
Thrasios.
I want to make Thrasios cry with that.
But now you can Thrasios.
I can Thrasios, but you can't.
I'm going to build a Drana and Limvala stack deck.
Honestly, I've considered it, but the problem is that I love green too much. I have to play
Green's too good.
I gotta play
Smash.
Black is good, but black and white is not really great. Like, they both do what they do very well, but they just kind of need that seam, whether it's red, blue, green, whatever combinations of.
Here's my thing: like, if you take an Orzhov deck, right, and you build it to be a power level 8, you are smacking the table. You throw fast mana in that, and all of a sudden you're getting smacked.
I've had turn 3 wins with Amalia. And she's not. I'm not saying she's not at all jazzy. I mean, it's an Orzhov deck. They're tough to get going, but
I'm not saying it's not doable. You know what I'm saying? But more times, my experiences, I catch one of these.
I got one more Stax piece on mind. Camball, Console of Allocation.
He's more taxi.
Instants of sorcerers, 2 life. But the fact that I gained 2 life.
Non-creature spell, actually.
Artifacts. Non-creatures.
His problem, I think, is just that he's 2 mana commitment, or 2 different colors at least.
I think he's a little slow, but I think it's one of those decks. Like, if you want to play based on a group, you can definitely slot it in.
We'll leave it on the list for now because we're gonna do cuts.
I got one more.
What you got?
I got Root Maze.
Get this card. I played this. What was that? I played that in time.
I remember that deck that time you played that deck. That was not fun.
Is that turn 1 Root Maze?
Let me tell you, playing Thalia and the Gitrog and reminding everyone else, hey, your land comes to play tapped, your creatures come to play tapped. That feels pretty good.
So this is basically
doing it to you.
Yeah, Root Maze is just what Thalia and Gitrog does, but to you too. I think that makes it bad here. Because doesn't Thalia and Gitrog already do make your non-basics and artifacts come into play tapped or creatures?
Not mine. Everyone else's.
So I mean, it does do the artifacts thing. You don't run a lot of artifacts, but
Really
it does
don't,
stifle you on the lands. And I think the fact that you're sacking lands and trying to play an extra one, I like Root Maze. I think it's a mean card. We'll leave it in there.
Card.
We're gonna have to go through cuts, so.
Oh. Noble dies.